picked up the kid. She'd grabbed some weed. We ended up getting pulled over. The police like swarmed us at the gas station. We stopped to get refreshments for the trip home. She had the weed, so I just took the weed. 2.5 grams of weed landed me in.
How long were you incarcerated and which facility?
So I was back then this was in, I want to say 2006. Valdosta, Georgia was the county we were held at, but I was arrested in Lanier County. I think it was like a metro type deal. They had one jail that housed everybody.
So it's like one of those open pod type settings.
So when you first got in there, it was almost like a dog kennel. Because like it was literally a chain link fence all the way along the one side, and then it was like concrete brick walls. It almost reminded me of like a rescue shelter for dogs. Okay. You know what I mean? But it was just like 40 men just
separate
stuffed into this.
Separate cells, or was it like a
no, just open
bunk? Yeah,
it was just open. Yeah, that was just the intake.
It was a county, state, or federal?
It was a county jail.
For the intake and orientation, I guess, what was your first day like?
Hot.
Yeah.
It was hot as hell. I don't know if you've been to Georgia, but Georgia weather is hot. Muggy. There was zero air conditioning. They had fans, but this place was filthy. But the fans was like caked in dust. Culture shock, because I mean, I'd been to other county jails. I just assumed that they were all, clean and air conditioned.
How were new inmates treated?
A couple of the guys gave me some ramen, but I seen some guys get treated pretty bad coming in.
How about by the staff?
I guess the staff was just disrespectful. Like there was only one CO there that actually talked to you like a human. But most of them, I seen them passing in lunch sacks, and they would just throw them, some of them hitting the ground on the floor. Like,
did you receive proper orientation or rule information? How to use a phone, how to call someone, call for help if there's an emergency, any of that stuff?
Nothing.
No.
You have to basically, you're just set in to fend for yourself. You got to ask other inmates. They did, if I remember correctly, they gave me like a piece of paper. It was one piece of paper that was folded into three, but it was just like an overview.
How would you rate the intake process at 1 through 10?
I'm gonna say probably about a 3.
Living conditions. How clean were the living areas?
Like I mentioned before, this place was pretty filthy. Granted, it is a jail, but like I said, I've been to other county jails that were like pristine, shiny floors. It just kind of reminded me of like old 80s movie or something, like The Terminator or something. Like there was no light, no lighting. Like I said, there was no air conditioning, just the heat from like 40 men. It's bad. And I think we only showered like 3 times a week.
How many inmates per cell? How many were in that open area, you think?
Probably about 40. Yeah, there were rows of bunks. I think it was 3 rows of bunks. They were double bunks. But you were in that initial receiving area anywhere from a week to 2 weeks.
Really?
And then you went back to the pod.
You were in that initial area, so you didn't dress out or anything?
No, we dressed out, right.
And I guess how long were you there for total, you said?
2.5 months.
That area you're talking about now, that was kind of the 40 guys, that's the intake area?
So when you first come in, like, they brought you into like a holding cell, but then after they dress you out, they put you into this other, like, it's the intake, and I guess it's just to kind of like see what pods you're going to go to, like, according to what your charges were. But like in that initial, when you first get put in there, you're in there with like murderers to people that got caught with weed. So
you were there for about 2 weeks, then you get transferred into the pod. What was the setup like in the pod?
The pods was a little bit cleaner. I think because they had inmates that were, I guess, like trustee positions, I guess, that would clean it when we were in lockdown. It still wasn't like clean. I remember they painted the rails. The humidity was so hot that the paint never dried the entire time I was there. Like it dried to the touch. They give you an ID card, and you could take the ID card and like just barely touch it and the paint would just peel. They had fans in the pod area. So when you first walk in, it's like an open day room, and then there was a set of stairs to the right, and then there was a catwalk, and then it was like an L shape. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like the corner of a cube. It was just lined with cells on both sides, or top and bottom. But they were like the old Barney Fife cells. They were like bars. Or they weren't like the doors. So all night, all you heard was people screaming, beatboxing, like no sleep at all. How
many people per cell in the pods?
Some of the cells had 3 people. They had the boat beds. They called them boat beds.
Oh, no.
Right. Yeah. It got really wild. Like, so on a scale of 1 to 10, out of all the jails I've been to, this was probably the most lit jail I was ever at. Yeah. Like, inmates did what they wanted to.
Were hygiene supplies and showers readily available?
So there were showers in the back. In the back, you could shower every day. So in the back, though, like if you didn't have commissary money on your books, like I'm 4 states away from my home because I'm from Indiana. So like none of my people even knew where I was at because like my numbers was in my phone. They didn't give me my phone to get my numbers out. So like I didn't have any memory of the phone numbers. So it was probably I was in there for 2 months before anybody really knew. Like my family knew.
What would you grade the living conditions?
I'd give it about a solid 5. The heat is what really dropped it down. Like it was just unbearable heat. Like I was lucky. I was in a cell, like I said, it was bars, and they give you an ID card when you first come in. And I was in one of the cells that you could pop the lock. After lights out, we would pop the lock. Yeah. And open the door and like just lay on the catwalk because the fan was like right there. And then the COs, when they'd come in, we'd just jump up and run back into the cell and hurry up and lock it.
Food and nutrition. How would you rate the food quality and the portions?
1. Solid 1. The worst food I ever had in my life. The bologna was green on one side and like a pale pink on the other. The sandwiches, I think they probably made them like once a week. Every day for lunch, you'd get a sack, like a brown bag special. It was just, you would get, I think, 2 sandwiches and a cookie. There was like a community sink, I guess, in the pods. There were times that we had cool COs that they would let us fill up a cooler with ice. It'd be gone quick. Yeah. And then you had those 2 or 3 guys that it was their cooler. So if you weren't, one of the guys, you probably weren't getting no ice water anyways.
Were special diets, medical or religious, respected?
Yeah, they were pretty good about that. I wasn't on, so I can't say from a personal viewpoint, but I noticed that they did offer people their religious diets or special diets. Now, I do remember there was issues with if somebody came in, they wouldn't get it like the first couple days, but once they got on it, they would call for like kosher diets or whatever else.
Any specific memories about the food situation that you care to share that you haven't already?
I just remember always trading my sandwiches for cookies because I couldn't bring myself to eating green bologna. So there is a situation with the food that I do remember that it didn't pertain to me. So there was this Puerto Rican guy, didn't speak any English. There was only one other guy in there that spoke any Spanish, and he spoke a little bit. And this guy probably weighed like close to 280, 300 pounds. He laid in his bed, refused to eat, and they let this man lay there and die after like 9 days of not eating. It was like 3 or 4 days later, made the news that he died.
Because of the quality of food that he wasn't eating?
No, I don't know what he was in there for, but I think he had serious charges. It was one of those situations where he probably wasn't going to go home. He had severe mental issues already. You could kind of tell just by talking to him, trying to talk to him.
Yeah.
And he was just dead set on he wasn't going to eat. I mean, and I don't know how you force somebody to eat. Right. He should have had some kind of counseling or something.
Staff conduct. How did the correctional staff treat the inmates?
So in the intake, they were just dickheads. In the pod, they were kind of in check a little bit. Most of the inmates weren't going for it. There was a couple fights in there, and they did not respond to them until after everything.
One officer for the whole?
Usually there was one officer. Sometimes there was 2, but staff, like they were just disrespectful. Like I said, there was one of the staff that was in there. He was all right. He would come in and try to answer requests. Whenever he would come in, every inmate would go with a problem. You know what I mean? So he could only do so much.
Did you observe any favoritism, corruption, or neglect?
Some of the guys, and I think it was more, I don't think it was favoritism. I think it was more fear. Some of the guys in there that were, bigger or whatever their charge was, whether it was a violent crime, the COs would give them a little bit more leniency. There were some of the guys that they would literally push into their cells. I've never been to a jail or a county that the staff was allowed to make contact with the inmate. But that jail, there was more than once that I seen COs push inmates.
How did they respond to complaints or violence?
They really didn't. I remember 2 specific fights that were pretty violent. The staff didn't come in until after it was already done. Everybody separated ways, and then they came in and made everybody get on the ground. But they didn't do anything to intervene while somebody probably could have got seriously hurt. But
they don't do anything until the backup gets there, right? Anyway, so it's 15 minutes later or something. It could be a while. Staff conduct, what would you rate that overall?
I'd give it probably about a 5.
Safety and violence. Did you feel safe on a daily basis?
I mean, I didn't really have any worry. It wasn't a safe environment, but like I said before, it's kind of how you carry yourself.
I mean, were there concerns that you may have to respond, with violence? Or,
I mean, yeah. Anytime you're in that type of circumstance, there's always that possibility. But like I said, we was able to take our ID card and open the door with the ID card. You couldn't do it to all the doors, but so like if somebody was really trying to get at you, they could get at you even if you was in your cell. And I don't think there was any intercom systems. Like most counties I've been to, they had intercom systems in the cells.
How common were fights or violent incidents there?
There was like I said, there was 2 pretty serious fights. There was several scuffles that yelling at each other, arguments. There was only 2 like serious fights.
I guess, did you see any safety concerns raised to the staff? And if so, how did they respond to it?
I don't ever remember it being necessarily brought up to the staff. There was definitely safety concerns though, like the fences outside. They have they take when you got your post, and then it's got the fence, and they take that piece of wire, it's probably about 1/8 of an inch thick, and they take it and twist it around to hold the fence to the post.
Yeah.
All of those were missing. Because if it's only gotten worse, like it was bad when I was there.
For the safety and violence, what would you rate that? One being.
So I'd give it probably about a 3.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was pretty laid back for the most part. I mean, everybody kind of vibed with everybody, you know what I mean? It wasn't until like the COs came in and started riling everybody up, threatening to take a wreck or, what I mean, not giving us commissary. But everybody, we was all in the situation together, so we kind of like, everybody just kind of, we all vibed together.
What were the fights that did break out? Do you know what they were over?
Poker. Poker. Both of them were poker.
Okay.
I almost got into it with a guy over poker. I mean, he owed me I think it was 7 soups. I just told him keep it. You know what I mean? But that's 9 times out of 10, gambling, poker, dice, cards.
So medical and mental health. How responsive was medical care? And was it easily available?
It was the same.
Yeah.
So they had a slip, a medical slip that you had to fill out. And the box would be literally like you're stuffing it in. It would look like a little mailbox, but 4 or 5 of them sticking out. It's so full that they never check it. You know what I mean? And when they do check it, so if you put in, you got a fever, by the time you're actually seen, nature's run its course. You're healthy.
Yeah.
By the time. And I think it was a $10 copay.
You were having a heart attack, or it was a serious medical.
Unless you get the staff's attention, I mean, and even then, it just depends on the staff. Take it serious, or if they, and for instance, that guy that refused to eat, he should have had some kind of mental health or even medical help.
The next question I had was, did you see anyone that was denied treatment or neglected?
Yes.
Overall, medical and mental health, what would you rate the medical protocols and the procedures that were in place?
I would say mental health, I would say 0. For physical health, probably about a 2.
Rehabilitation and education. Were there education or job training programs available to the inmates?
They did have something they were doing, but I think it was just a simple GED class is what it was. It was something that I didn't qualify for. It had something to do with the GED, because I already had my GED. So I think it was a GED class that they offered. I never heard of any kind of vocational or life skill training.
Staff supportive of rehabilitation in general?
That varied from CO to CO. I guess it's kind of the mind state thing. A lot of them just thought, oh, you guys are in jail, you're worthless. I imagine there was probably some that probably experienced jail at a more personal level that at least thought that there was a chance at rehabilitation. But they didn't offer any kind of rehabilitation. There was no promotion of don't come back to jail. Job security.
What would you rate their rehabilitation program?
0.
Communication and family. How easy was it to stay in touch with family?
I mean, if you had the numbers and stuff, they had phones on the block. There were phones. There was, I want to say 3 phones in the whole, well, that was back in the pods. Front, it was harder. I don't even remember the phone system from up front. I don't think I ever even got to use the phone. In the pods, they were the handheld phones. Okay. Yeah. They had the actual phones on the wall.
Were disciplinary actions by the staff fair and consistent?
Staff to inmate, or staff was doing something wrong?
No, staff to inmate.
Yeah and no, depending on what it was. The 2 fights, the guys got taken to SEG. Like I said, with us popping the door and coming out of the cell at night, they would take the banana beds that we were talking about. They would take them at the top of the stairs and ride them down the stairs. And then, when I say it was loud, this shit was loud. They would ride it down the stairs and then jump up and run into somebody else's cell. And then the staff would come in, and then this bed would just be at the bottom of the stairs. they would just come in and like flash their lights because it was dark. There was no light. They didn't have no like night lights. Most jails I've been to have like night lights, but they would come in and like flash their light around and just see the mat or the thing down there. You would think that they would do something like go cell to cell to make sure that they would match. They didn't. They would just come in and flash the light, and then after they leave, they would ride it back down the stairs again.
Did you feel targeted or unfairly punished at all during your stay there?
I mean, the whole time I was there, I did, because like I'm in there on 2.5 grams of weed, so like I really didn't feel like I should have been there. When I went to court, gave me no bail. They said I was a flight risk because I wasn't from there. They kept continuing my court date. You know what I mean? This is something that could have been taken care of in a month.
So it's been...
I didn't think about it until after I said it, but they've...
Just stay out of our county.
That's exactly what he said, too, when I went to court. The dude was the CO, the transport officer. He had, one of his legs was longer than the other, so one of his heels was like it. It was like the most racist shit ever. Like, he just turns around and looks at me, and he's like, keep you and your kind out of my city.
All right, so we got, the last one we got here is release and re-entry. How are you prepared for your release?
I wasn't. I didn't even have socks. I don't know where my socks went. You know, I'm expecting all my clothes that I came in with be in my property. So like when I left out, everything I was wearing, I gave to the guys that was in there, other than my jumpsuit. When I got out to get my stuff, my socks was missing, my pack of cigarettes was missing, my lighter. When I was released, I was pretty much, they just opened the doors and was just like...
Did you have any trouble transitioning out?
The transition wasn't bad. Like I said, the only issue was like they let me out, and like I don't know anybody in this city, nobody in this state for that matter. But luckily, when I was walking towards the bus station, because they basically opened the door and pointed to where the bus station was. I was walking, and there just so happened to be some guys that was doing a roof, and I stopped and asked one of them if I could use their cell phone, and he asked, he could tell I just got out of jail apparently, because he's like, "What's just out of the county?" And I explained my situation, and he bought me a bus ticket and gave me $50.
God, this got working there, man.
It sure is, because I'd have been stuck there for at least another 12, 15 hours by the time my cousin could have got from Knoxville to there and got everything ready, you know.
I think I appreciate you doing this. I do think there's some people that are interested in the topic. There's quite a few people that I know that have been locked up once or twice, in their life. And
right, it's gonna get. I feel like it'll get traction. I feel like it will. Like people want to know about that type of shit because everybody knows somebody that's in jail. Everybody's got a son or a brother or a cousin or somebody that's in jail. A relatable subject.
Who gon' stay with me? I made a way for you, but who makes a way for me? Who's gonna fight for me? Who's gonna die for me?